Good afternoon to everyone here. How are you doing today?
Good.
For the sake of giving you a glimpse of what we do, I would run a short video clips that I just put together, clips that I took with my phone, after our travel to different places, communities. That's how car got stuck. Challenging circumstances. Muddy road. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So we do spend time engaging communities, talking to them, building relationship and trust. Some of their houses, checking out their water sources, where they actually take shower. Women who walk us through their life of fetching water. Source of light. Various training that we do at the community. Some of the workshops we did with the community. Okay, so I'm sure some of you might already know some background about the indigenous people in Malaysia. So. Just a quick overview, I won't go in depth. So the indigenous people, in English we call it indigenous, but in Malay there's a differentiation between Orang Asli and Orang Asal. Orang Asli are predominantly peninsular Malaysia. There are about 1,000 of them, which is actually considerably very small population, with about 20 different subgroups, and then we have bigger groups of, I think over 2 million Orang Asal in Sabah and about 2 million in Sarawak. And that's a bigger population compared to the state population. So there are actually majority population in the East Malaysia, whereas the Orang Asli here are very, very small populated. So a lot of our work that we have done mostly with the Orang Asli, a bit with East Malaysian, but because of how huge the population is and how widespread they are in East Malaysia, I won't be sharing too much about that. Yeah, and so we do work with partners. No one alone can address all these issues. So we work with NGOs like Epic Home. They build houses for Orang Asli. Rotary does a lot of projects. Some universities, either on research or technical support. A bit of conversation with JAKWA. JAKWA is a department of Orang Asli's development. And some corporations CSR of some corporations because we need funding to roll out all the different projects that we do. Yeah, we are looking at working with more partners, as when I mentioned about research, as well as government. I think Ministry of Health does a lot of work with the Orang Asli community. Almost every community that we saw a gravity feed, gravity feed, they put a pipe up in a hill on a river. Those projects are all funded by the Ministry of Health. Yeah, so we know, someone in fact told us that the Ministry of Health, I think one of the villages of Orang Asli told us that the Ministry of Health or the Klinik Kesihatan get to the indigenous people much faster and more effective than the Department of Orang Asli. Yeah, that's a remark that they made. So well done to the Ministry of Health. Where we work, the Orang Asli is also very scattered around the country. Some of them are deep in the jungle with very little road access. But we work predominantly with the Orang Asli in Pahang and also Perak. These two states are most populated in terms of Orang Asli. And they are also quite different. Not just difference of the suku or the tribe. The Perak side, we're working with communities around Gopeng town, if you know Gopeng. There's a lot of durian right now if you want to have a nice cheap durian. Gopeng's Orang Asli communities are about 15 different villages and socio-economically much developed. Some of the kampong or villages look like a traditional Malay kampong, but their uniqueness is then when you start moving deeper, you see their bamboo houses. They build a house with bamboo and you don't need a fan to live in that house because it's very, very cooling. But the characteristics are they're socio-economically more developed. Road access is better. Relatively, we don't have the exact statistic. Relatively, the number of children going to schools are also higher. I'm making this comparison between two different locations. And they are more social, they are able to socialize better. Yeah. Moving to the Pahang side, a lot of our villages are in Muazzam Shah area. This is a small town. Nearby town would be Pekan. You must know Pekan. So Muazzam Shah's villages are mostly in the plantations because the huge piece of land which used to be jungles in the past are now plantations of different companies and private smallholders and so on. And they are relatively socio-economically much poorer. Number of kids going to school is so low. We'll be so fortunate to find one kid who go to school. Socially, they are they are shy to interact. It will take more time to talk to them. Literacy level is very, very low. Yeah, I'll talk about that more later. So just to give you a different comparison, we have a project currently going on in Sarawak working with Ibanese community. And it's just so different. Ibanese people, if you have friends or you've been there, so warm, so friendly. We have no issue talking to them and getting information that we're looking for. We had some projects in Sabah as well 2 years ago. So so let's talk about the various challenges of the underserved. I put the word underserved there because not all Orang Asli's communities are the same. You're bound to see more developed Orang Asli communities. They have all infrastructure. Kids are all going to school. You have the parents telling you, "Oh, my daughter is getting a scholarship, going to the university, and she's invited to speak, in Bangkok or somewhere." So you have Orang Asli communities that are more educated. And a friend of mine told me that there's a professor who was teaching, Orang Asli professor teaching in IIUM, I think. So, but the one that we are going to focus on is actually more of the lower socio-economic communities, sort of the B40 of the population of Orang Asli. And I will not cover the land issue just simply because we are not an expert in land rights. But yet, land issue is one of the huge issue faced by the indigenous people. We have friends who, like Dr. Colin Nicholas, is working in COAC on this. And so if we found in the communities that we're working with, if they start telling us about their land issue, we'll definitely refer them to the NGOs who does more of the advocacy, the legal rights, for the Orang Asli. I'll focus on other aspects that we come in touch with and that we've been working with for the last few years. And yeah, so let's get going. So this is short video. We just made this video a few weeks ago.
Nama saya Ayu, umur saya 25 tahun, saya tinggal di Kampung Sandar.
Nama saya Roseda, Kampung Gombi, 30.
Nama saya Juria, anak perempuan Nurdin. Umur saya 33, Kampung Gombi. Warna dia macam nak merah, yang pas saya mandi tu. Kalau yang sebelah sana putih. Tapi masalahnya satu kan, sebab air macam tu, akak tengok macam ni, dia gatal. Tengok macam ni. Dia macam gatal-gatal macam tu. Sebab air dia macam, dia merah kan. Macam tu je. Dia gatal. Kita pun tak tahu air tu dia punca dari mana.
Teruk, kalau gatal tengok macam ni. Habis tergatal kan. Mak, semua keluarga kat sini lah. Habis.
Kadang-kadang itu ada dekat atas tu, ada kayu, ada apa lah, pojok kayu, ada bunga-bunga.
Memang bau dia memang lain lah, sebab ada busuk sikit. Itu warna dia kadang jernih, kadang ada keruh, warna macam susu tu kan. Sebab tu dia bau dia macam tak sedap. Kita kan ada anak, jadi kita bagi minum anak, habis sakit perut. Tapi terpaksa tak ada air kat sini. Anak saya masuk ward dah 2 kali. Sebab dia sakit macam muntah, cerit-birit. Tu.
Akak kena masak juga. Kalau tak masak, akak tak berani nak minum. Tapi kalau tersesak lah, akak dah macam haus kan, akak tak kisah. Sebab macam ke tempat kerja kan, tersesak air, dia telaga, saya pakai minum air macam tu aja. Kalau kat rumah saya tak berani. Akak guna tapis. Tapis yang kecil tu. Kalau musim kemarau yang dulu saya pakai ambil dekat paya sana. Tak ada air. Kadang saya minta dekat pakcik sana.
Kalau kita sedut, air tu ada dalam satu tangki, lepas tu kita nak mandi dah susah. Untuk nak minum sebab air tu cuma seminggu je boleh bertahan. Kalau habis cari kat parit, susah. Kalau ada motor boleh, kalau tak ada motor, dukung guna lacur, guna bakul itu. Kita basuh pun walaupun sabun tu bau wangi, tu kita jemur tak ada dah hilang. Macam melekit. Lepas tu kalau kita pakai kan dia macam belum cuci lah, macam gatal. Selalu kan kita pakai seluar baju sama, macam ada rasa gatal badan. Mungkin tak bersih. Dari pergi gali sendiri, tu guna cedok, guna macam tong macam tu. Kita selalu penat kan, selalu cedok, itu basuh baju, kotor air tu buang lagi, cedok lagi, itu ambil lagi bawa kat rumah. Selalu banyak rasa beban kita.
Pagi noreh, lepas noreh lagi saya balik kadang pukul 12 saya balik noreh. dapat balik noreh, lepas tu masak, lepas tu angkat air daripada loji. Kadang-kadang kakak pun dia macam tak berdaya lah sebab lemah kan.
Saya memang dekat sini lah tempat saya yang harapan masa depan anak-anak saya. Kat sini lah.
Kehidupan orang asli macam tu lah.
As one of the conclusion we draw about the challenges that this community face as compared to, let's say, about 50 years ago, is challenges brought by development. As you know, the Orang Asli living with the nature or the jungle, you know, it's part of their life. The jungle and the land has a lot of meaning to them, and once they have no jungle to go to, it becomes very tough for them to adapt their life. There are people who actually believe that, you know, you move the Orang Asli out of where they live, you know, to a place that has all the infrastructure. Somehow this would require a lot more study. We have seen also failed project. We were in Pahang, Muazzam place, and we did a lot of scouting, looking at other different villages, and we found one village that was specially built by the government for the indigenous people, and they are well built community. It's almost like a residential area with brick houses. You don't see brick houses much, and this area in the middle of the plantation is meant to move the small pockets of community to live there with electricity, with pipe water, and so we decided to go and check out, like, hey, how's their life, with a better infrastructure provided. And we arrived there, my colleagues walked around the community, and I sat down with someone who opened a little store selling, sundry like shops. And I started to chat with that gentleman, and he happened to be a Chinese ethnic, marrying an Orang Asli. So his wife is actually an Orang Asli, and they got married, and he decided to stay there and do some little business. So we started to talk to him, how's the life here, and so on. And he said, don't let my wife hear this, I'm going to just tell you. And he was very direct to her. He said, their lifestyle did not change, even though they are given infrastructure. The community, many of them still do their business, or they do toilet or open defecation outside. And my colleague, after we gathered, and she came back, she said, I saw a human poop next to a dog poop. So it was a shock to us, because they have got toilet at home and they've got water to flush the toilet. And that gentleman told me that the kids still walk around naked, they're still barefooted, and they don't take showers still as much, as still dirty. He called it dirty, not me. And so he, being an outsider, that's what he saw, and he told us. And we left the village with a very profound thought, like, wow, we thought just provide them with the infrastructure, facility, and everything will change. And apparently it did not in that village. I can't say for everywhere. Yeah. So the next villages, other villages that we went there, we asked them. They actually told us that they own a house there, but they didn't move in. It's still empty because they want to do their farming. They want to be close to the nature, even though there's no amenities, but they prefer yeah, to stay where they are with the nature. So there's a lot of very interesting observation that I think it's worth doing, more research on. But I'll start off with water. So water is actually one big issues with the indigenous people, which I think could be the more recent problems, because their water source has been contaminated. So they consume groundwater. On the Pahang side, it's less hilly, it's flat land and plantation, so there's no running stream, not many running stream, very few at the place that we work with. And so they consume groundwater that are pretty much contaminated. Some of the wells, these are all self-dug wells. You can see different colors, brown, whitish, rusty. These are better made well because some NGOs donated the concrete, they call it concrete caveat, to make proper well. But even with that concrete made well, it's still very dirty. And they have to drink this water because they have no other options. Sometimes the well can get dried up and then they have to walk or go further to swamps or any kind of water source on the ground that they can find. Look at the bottle in the middle. It looked like one of the isotonic drink. It is not. It is not. It's actually directly from the well. So it depends on the soil. The water will be different color. The last one, far right, it's also an issue of hygiene. The water bottles that they carry water with is also very dirty. Yeah. So what are the implications of issues with water? So water quality is number one. Quantity of water is the second one, and the distance of water is number three. Yeah. So women, I consider women use a lot more water because they do laundry and they bath the kids and so on. Their life are more challenged with these situations. There was two young ladies. They were actually doing laundry. It's almost like a swamp near their village, and that's the only source they can find. And they will wash their clothes there. They will tell you that their clothes will look brownish, but what other choice they have? And they would shower with the same water. So you do laundry, and then you shower. Yeah. So day in and day out, that's how they live. Some of them would collect water, and even though it's muddy, they have to use it to wash anything they need to wash. Yeah. And if the water source is slightly, further, the women mostly have to do the job because men goes out to work daytime, and even elderly lady, they do carry water because their children carrying water for their own house. So even elderly women, some of the women, when you interview them, they say they'll feel the pain and joint pain and all that, and they take it as part of their life. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same lady who walked us through the plantation to go to this well to fetch water, and sometimes it's not once a day. It has to be multiple times depending on how much water they need, to use. So the lack of other than that is where they bath. These are the so-called swimming pool for the community. Yeah, and we could see some of the kids also swimming, and they have fun, of course, but there is actually implication. We tested some of the water sources, and it's no surprise that they have very high level of coliforms, E. coli, which can cause waterborne diseases. The lady that we interviewed earlier in the video, her son was admitted twice for very severe vomiting and diarrhea. Of course, they wouldn't know whether it's food poisoning or bacteria or virus, they wouldn't be able to say much. But twice her son was admitted. Infant mortality is very high. I think there are some universities who've done some research on that. But we could attest that because whenever we talk to the villagers, we ask them, any baby children who died, and it's not surprised to hear. There was one gentleman who told me that two of his children passed away. One a teenager, and the other one is younger. Both out of sickness. And commonly, we also hear like their relatives admitted to the hospital. One of the chief of the village, when we visited him, he said he has to go to the hospital. I asked him why. Because his son-in-law was admitted for heart issue. He didn't know what exactly it is. So health is not in definitely not in a good state from our observation. On the hygiene aspect, a lot of the villages also has very little awareness about hygiene. You could see kids who their shirts are very dirty. You look at their hair, like oily or look like they don't shower very often. And these are predominantly Pahang side. Perak side, the Gopeng area, their hygiene is much better. And they would sit on the ground, skin rashes is almost everywhere. It's probably something that they learn to live with. So children and adults have a lot of skin issues. This mother is carrying that small baby. She's got her arms and her legs, skin kind of dry and peeling off. We did not really diagnose all these issues, but we could see that the young baby is also having some of it. So what we could do as a non-profit is if we see any infection on the skin, we would give them a cream, antiseptic cream. This young boy, you could look at his shirt, and he's got a lot of injury on the leg, and apparently it's very hard to heal. And the other picture is showing a very common scene in these villages. Garbages are everywhere. There's no idea of having a garbage bin in their community, and that's part of what we are training them as well about garbage management. This is the house of the chief of a village. Very small villages. On the Pahang side, there are mostly pockets, like 15 houses, 20 houses. Nothing more than that. Whereas if you go to more established indigenous villages, they can be up to 50, 100, or over 100 houses. So these are pockets of them. And this is the chief's house. And when we arrived, they were sitting on the ground having chit-chatting, and they were eating. And basically their floor is a table. Their food is on the floor. And they walk around, and animals also walk around. And there's milk bottle for the baby on the floor. There is this daun sirih, I think. How do you translate daun sirih in English? Betel leaves that they also love munching. And surprisingly, they eat quite a lot of junk food. This is something that we did not expect. We thought the indigenous people, they would have their own food and diet. Because the town is more accessible, they do go out with a bike to the town, and we believe they see junk food as something that is modern, it's a luxury, and they will buy junk food back for their kids. And when I interviewed the mother, what do you cook for lunch? What do you cook for dinner? And she said, well, it depends. Now they are eating, the junk food. She didn't use junk food. She said if they are full, if they are not hungry, she won't cook. So there seems to be no regular meal time for some of them. So this is a picture of the wife and the chief and the baby. I just enlarged it for you to see. I think the baby girl was less than a year old because she couldn't walk yet. She was having ice cream. She was having fun with the ice cream. It's dripping on her body, it's dripping on the floor, and so it's something that we are really worried about, the diet, because when you have lack of knowledge about diets and nutrition, and then they are being exposed to junk foods that are very affordable these days with ringgit or 2 ringgit, you can get a lot of junk food. So that is on the health, water aspect. Moving on is on energy. Of course, a lot of these villages have no electricity, and they will live with whatever they could find. So a lot of them use the diesel light, the most conventional way of lighting up their house. If they are even poorer, can't afford to buy oil or diesel, they would burn the palm oil seed. The dried one. It's enough to live in a small living room, but it's very smoky. Even this diesel light is very smoky, and they will tell us that their nose will become black, inside. So I'm sure there's a health implication as well. If you see that battery, they call it battery bomb. It's a slightly bigger size of battery, which we hardly use here, I think. They bought it for 13 ringgit each, which they could connect to a light bulb to light up their house. And they will use up that battery of 13 ringgit in a few days' time, like 3-4 days. They will run out of energy, and they use it to charge their phone, their Nokia phone. And so if you look at it, it's also very expensive how much they spend on energy when they are already quite poor. Some houses that are slightly better off, they have this generator set. They use petrol, which they only run for a few hours at night, which is also very unsustainable. Housing is another big issue. It wasn't before. As I mentioned, our observation and our conversation with them, a lot of the issues was because now they have no more forests. So you look at the house, they actually build it with woods that they find in the jungle. And today they are struggling because some part of the wooden house will get eaten and decaying. They have to replace it every few years. But now they can't find wood anymore, or less and less wood, or harder and harder. And they start to use all kind of material. Zinc is something that they would use last, because zinc house, what's the problem with zinc house? Super hot, you're like staying in an oven, and they have no choice now. We see the entire house made of zinc, and no one will stay in the house on daytime. They have to leave the house, go somewhere else. Else they will get any types of material, use banner, and like we saw like election banners, they pull out and then they use it to cover their house. Else it will be leaking at night. It's very unsafe. And villagers also ask us, can you give us house, and so on. Education is, in long term, this is also one of the biggest issue. With very few children going to school, it's going to be harder and harder for them to come out of the poverty chain. So some of the villages we've been following through for 2-3 years. On the first year we went in, we found one family who sent the kids to school, and we are like, wow, this is hope. Let's make this family a change makers to influence other villages. And so we interviewed the parents on the first year, and they say, yeah, we believe in education. Our kids should go to school, and that's why we take all the trouble to send them, And then early this year we went back and we say, how's your children? And they say they're no more going to school, they dropped out, which is very sad, because that's like the only family who has the kids going to school. This young girl with a yellow shirt, she just dropped out from school about 2 months ago. So we could attest to the statistics. There are several organizations who have done research on education level of the indigenous people. The dropout rate from year 1 to the graduation of Form 5 or secondary school, it's 94%. Means 100 kids go to school from standard 1. By the time they reach Form 5, there's only 6 students left. Very high, and we could attest to that because we could see kids dropping out. Even on the Perak side, Gopeng, I mentioned they are socio-economically better. Primary school, kids going to school is common, but secondary school also is very, very rare. Yeah. So, so there are some NGOs who are trying to address this issue, setting up schools in the villages. We did go and check out some of the schools. Not very well attended as well. Yeah, not very well attended. So I won't elaborate on the why, but on a glance, things that they told us, lifestyle, sending kids to school equal to waking up very early and having to wait for their kids if there is transportation provided by the Department of Orang Asli. Then they had to stay at home. The mom had to stay at home to send their kids and to wait for the kids to come home. It doesn't go well with the lifestyle, is what one of the villagers told us. Transportation is a big issue in many villages because of how remote they are. This girl, she dropped out because the mom, according to the mom, the mom says she's not doing well at the school, and I have to send her every day. It's about half an hour motorbike, sending her there and picking her. What for? You know, she's probably failing her exam and so on. So transportation, kids can't cope with the school syllabus. These are very common things that they told us. Yeah. And consequently, we believe it's also connected to why the communities are very young, very early marriage. Mothers are a lot of mothers are teenagers, 16-year-old with a baby. Yeah. So it's very common. In fact, we were shocked the other day talking to a woman. I think she was 30 years old, and she said her son is 21. And like, is that possible? Maybe she mistaken her age or something like that. Yeah. So that's what they told us. And other than that, we see that kids who doesn't go to school, they actually do nothing much. If they can follow their parents to go to the farm, fishing. Most of the time, they're just loitering. There's no sports activity. We didn't see any kids playing sports as well. Yeah. So a bit about what we do with these villages. This is our signature program, which we actually started with. It's called Communities Unite for Pure Water, basically addressing the issues of the access to clean water. So usually what we do is we talk to the village, we engage them, we get to know them before we start any implementation to make sure that we actually know the problem right, we're hearing from them, we get their involvement, participation in making decisions. And we're slowly building up some tools that we could use. We actually would appreciate if some of you has tools to use with the community, because we want to be effective with the community, and we want to make sure there's proper engagement and participation. Our challenge with the indigenous people, especially on the Pahang side, is the literacy level is very low. So if we give them training, we have to speak in the simplest language. And number two is socially shy, so when we have conversation with them, we don't know if they agree, they don't agree, they don't voice their opinions so much. So we actually have to spend more time with them in order to be able to hear more from them. So trust is one big challenge as well. So we developed some activities that we, over the years, to get them to be engaged. This is simple activities called Jaringan Kasih Sayang. We did it in the Perak side and also in Sarawak. To get them to talk about their family members, their relatives in the village, throwing a ball of string. They talk about each other. You know, my auntie is so and so. She's very good in sewing and this and that. So we get to hear them talking about their community. We also do a bit of asset mapping, getting them to talk about the strengths in the village and so on. WASH is the main pillar of this project, so we do trainings on WASH, on how to recognize clean water, how to protect their water, their food, and washing hand, brushing teeth. We got them some sponsors of soaps that they can use as well. Yeah. The main chunk of the activity is actually providing them with a water filtration system, because the water source is very, very polluted. So we actually get them to fill out a form. We make sure that they understand properly why they're being given, and they actually want the water filter, they maintain it, they learn how to use it. The technology that we use is called Live Straw. It's a Swiss technology. If you are an outdoor person, you probably know the famous straw that they demonstrate drinking from the toilet bowl, and it's clean. But yeah, so of course we're not using toilet water. So Live Straw produce also community use for rural communities that it's very effective in removing all the microbes in the water. And the most important thing why we use this technology, we've tried different technology before, is it's super simple to maintain. It's one pull or one push and to do the flushing, because every filter needs to be flushed. And this is so simple that the orang asli wouldn't need to remember step 1, 2, 3. It's just one step. We get them to practice in front of us a few times. Yeah. So there's a smaller unit, there's a community unit. So we've been using this in multiple villages. We go back and they're still using it. Most of them taking care of it very well. Yeah. Yeah. So these are the filtration training and briefing. Yeah. Outside of that, some of the villages have issue with water source is not accessible, it's too far. We do piping and giving them a pump that would draw water to a tank that's closer to their houses. Yeah. So that would save the women's effort to walk. In fact, we interview those women, how has your life changed now that you don't have to walk all the way downhill to collect water, and they're very, very appreciative because it's quite an exertion to your body. Even we tried, actually, me and Nisa, we went to a well. We saw 2 of their big bottles left there and nobody took, so we were like, okay, let's try and carry this for a while. It's like 20 kg. I struggle. Yeah, I don't know about Nisa. So so we also built gravity feed system. This is in Janabai. We built a gravity feed, means upstream. They actually collect a pool of water, like a mini dam, and build the pressure for the water to flow to the village. Villages with gravity feed, they relatively have better quality of water because it's a running stream, it's on top of the hill, and as long as there's not too much of activities on the hill, their water on a usual day will be quite decent. Unless it's raining, then it becomes like muddy. So we also show them how the water is like a Milo or teh tarik, goes in and comes out clear. Before we give them the filter, we let them taste, make sure they actually like it. So as a conclusion, our work is just a beginning. We're not even doing what enough. We felt with that community. Moving forward, we are trying to compile the profile of the villages, making database. So a lot of these villages, they are not as accessible by NGO. It takes a lot of effort to find these villages, because unless you know an Asli who will bring you to where their relatives are living, or someone who has worked with them. So we found some villages frequently visited by non-NGOs, because the NGOs have been there and they will tell other NGOs, so they will go to the same villages, so they will get a lot more assistance. Whereas those that are more hidden, very few people will visit them. So what we're trying to do is to publish the simple profile of all these villages online on our website. So other NGOs who are working on different areas of education, women empowerment, livelihood, and so on can actually come in and collaborate with us to address some other aspects of their plights. This might be also useful for the government agencies. We have not had a lot of conversation with the government agencies purely because we have very limited resources. We're not a big NGO. We are a smaller NGO, and we would like to have more conversations with government agencies who are relevant to the Orang Asli, so we can actually share with them our database. In that research, something that we look at as it's necessary for long-term sustainability of helping to make their lives better. Areas like education needs, I think, a lot more research about the psychology of the parents and how to intervene in a more effective way. And we want to also do more of advocacy work to gather more attention of the public and also other NGOs and governments as well. So that's basically about it. If there's any question, feel free to speak with me. Thank you.